Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of the final WWE pay-per-view for this wild year 2020. I am not alone tonight. I am being joined by the co-winner of the 2020 No DQ predictions lead. He was ahead for several months actually. He was on the verge of being the solo winner 2 years in a row, but my fiance Caitlin did catch up with him, so they are co-winners. I guess you guys will have to share that insanely expensive trophy I had made for you guys. No, there's actually no trophy, but nonetheless, congratulations, Sun Goshiku. How's it going, my man?
Well, if you did make a trophy, just like every time in wrestling, it would just get destroyed. Hey, congratulations to the soon-to-be Mrs. Riv. And yeah, twice. I get to hold the title, but hey, honored. It was quite a battle right there towards the end. And everyone, glad to be joining everyone tonight here for this review. And as my traditional introduction is, hey everybody, Son Goshiku here, ready to review TLC 2020.
All right, now shout out to everybody in the chat room for tuning in and giving your thoughts as we go along with these matches. Josh Mansfield already sent in a $5 super chat, says, the rest of the pay-per-view almost made up for the result of the first main card match. If that was the ending, why even bother? Cash-ins should always be a win. Well, let's talk about that. We will get to that here in just a second. Thank you again for the super chat, Josh. And I do ask you guys, if you were going to send in a super chat, please send it as we talk about the match rather than talk about the main event right now, so we don't go all over the place as we discuss the results of the matches. Gary, of course, with the $2 super chat talking about the ending, saying, main event didn't fool me, dummy. See what I did. We did. We did, as a
With you,
matter of
Gary.
fact. Anyways, we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We had our kickoff show match, and really not much to talk about it. It's what you would expect from a kickoff match. It was announced pretty much at the last minute. We had an 8-man tag team match. Big E, Daniel Bryan, Otis, and Chad Gable versus Sami Zayn, King Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro. It was just a match on the kickoff. It was fine for what it was. It could have been a Smackdown match. Big E countered the Haluva kick and picked up the win with the big ending. He beat the Intercontinental Champion, and I believe they announced that on SmackDown, Big E will get his championship opportunity. Son, any thoughts on this match? And what do you think about Zayn taking yet another pin as the Intercontinental Champion to set up a match for the title?
Well, I actually missed the kickoff show,
Oh,
but that sounds like a who's who in terms of who was being pushed for the main event. So I'm surprised to hear so many of those names on the kickoff show. Yeah, I guess Sami Zayn, though, his time is coming near. Is later on, it's revealed that Big E and him will be facing off. Sounds like it wasn't too much to it, but yeah, I'm surprised just to see so many potential contenders for reigns right there on the kickoff show.
yeah, absolutely. I'm fine with Big E getting a title match. I just didn't see the point in Zayn losing yet again. That's my take on it. I'd rather they just do the match and not even bother with the kickoff match, but whatever. It is what it is. WWE just likes to get all the guys on the card. Poor Daniel Bryan, he was in this kickoff match and he feels like an afterthought almost, and I'm feeling like he'll probably be challenging for the Universal Championship at some point.
Yeah, that's the biggest one to me. I'm surprised he was on the kickoff show.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the main card. We kicked it off big, as I figured we would. We had two TLC matches. Made sense to start with one and have one at the end, or what we thought was going to be at the end. We had what started as Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles. Styles went after the knee of McIntyre, so McIntyre would not be able to climb up the ladder. Went back and forth here for several minutes. Styles hit the phenomenal forearm and almost made his presence felt. At first, he was just standing there on the outside, and McIntyre even glared at him and almost, for whatever reason, decided to not interfere for a while. He let it go one-on-one for quite a bit, but later on during the match, Omis started to get involved. He brought in a ladder for Styles to climb. McIntyre caught Styles, however, and hoisted him up and press slammed Styles over the top rope through a table. And at this point, McIntyre was climbing the ladder, looked like he was going to win. People in the chat room are talking about it. The Miz shows up, and he has the Money in the Bank contract. You had John Morrison out there. It officially became a triple threat match. Now, there's one thing I want on real quick before we get to the end of this. One little nitpick I had about this match. Early on, McIntyre was in control, right? But then he started climbing up the ladder with his back turned to Styles. Like, I did not understand that, because if you're in a fight, you want to keep your eyes on your opponent. Why did he climb the side of the ladder where his opponent was behind him so he could not see his opponent? Other than that, match was great. You had Omos, who came into the ring, so Miz's plan did not actually work out for him, which is funny because during the kickoff, it was brought up by Miz himself how he was going to wait for the right opportunity, and he even brought up Omos. So why would you cash in when you know Omos is out there? Of course, Omos stopped it from happening. He picked up AJ like a baby, like literally holding him like a baby, and just dropped him over the top through a table on the outside. And Morrison attempted to use a steel chair, and the chair actually broke over Omos's back. And here's a little bit of old school for you guys. Back in the 90s, I remember when Ming, formerly Haku in WWE, went to WCW, and a chair was smashed over his head, and he just completely no-sold it. That's what this reminded me of with Omos. Omos completely no-sold the chair. The chair was broken into pieces, and Omos stalked Morrison back to the ringside area, or back to the backstage area, I should say. It was Styles and McIntyre both climbing the ladder at the same time. Miz had another ladder he was climbing up, and McIntyre was able to stop the Miz and knocked Styles off. However, Styles ended up getting back on the ladder, knocked off McIntyre. Miz and Styles were fighting on the ladder. McIntyre managed to knock them both off at the same time. He hit the Claymore onto Miz, climbed up the ladder with his bad knee. He still managed to get to the top, and he claimed the championship, retaining the WWE title. Hell of a match here, son. What were your thoughts on the match? The high points, any low points you had? Your take on it.
Well, it was good to finally see Omos get involved. I was joking with Noah Foster on our predictions. Is like, this guy has had probably one of the best gigs all year in WWE. Just sit there and look intimidating and get paid lots of money for it. So it's good. And there was a lot of hard hit crashes, just like the way they were throwing everybody over and kept going into the tables and everything. Looked like a painful, maybe a new painful way to do the Royal Rumble. So that was really pretty much basically a lot of the things that stood out to me was like a lot of those hard crashing, having the Miz go ahead and turn this into a triple threat match. Right. Out of all matches, why a TLC match? Why not wait until someone is broken and battered, having gotten that title, and they maybe come right at the end, throw the ladder down, and then pin them once they fall? So I don't get the logic in that. But at the end of the day, I am glad to see Drew McIntyre continue his reign. My only thing with this is, like, it seems every time there's these lengthy reigns, 2 reigns, and there's only like 2 weeks to a month gap in between that the current guy is not the champion. Why do this? Why have Randy Orton win and just to put it back on Drew if they're going to continue with this all year? But at the end of the day, Drew McIntyre has been, I think, done the best job he absolutely can during covering WWE or carrying it during this pandemic era. So I'm glad to see it win, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with him in 2021. But yeah, overall, pretty good, solid match filled with nice shenanigans, as I figured it would be.
The Game is on 100 sent in a $2 super chat, says, thank God this end of Money in the Bank this year. Glad it's over. And I'm fine with it. The thing is, nobody for a second really believed that Miz was going to win Money in the Bank. So you might as well just wrap it up. I'm hopeful, and I said this in 2020, I'm hopeful the next Money in the Bank winner will be somebody that WWE is grooming for the top spot, somebody who can actually successfully cash in. It feels like the last several years we haven't seen a successful cash in, and no new stars are being made from that Money in the Bank contract. And as TJS says in the chat, it's meaning less and less as time goes on. But considering that Miz was holding it, we all knew where this was going. So I'm actually fine with this. If anything, I thought it made the match a little bit more interesting because none of us really thought that Styles was going to win the title, right? So you add Miz to it, and, in Scott Steiner math terms, McIntyre's chances of winning drastically go down. However, McIntyre did pull it off, and it made his win look even more impressive that he overcame the odds. And I agree with you that having Orton beat him really meant nothing. Like, it would have been even cooler if McIntyre continued his run here. And plus, with him being champion for so long, you would think, is this the time he's finally going to lose it? Because he's been champion for such a long reign. So, kind of like the Undertaker's streak when he had it going for so long, each match, there's more intensity and more drama because you're wondering, will this long run come to an end finally? But now McIntyre's just at the beginning of his second run, so it's not quite as impactful. So I completely agree with you on that, son. And the match was awesome. Loved it. And Caitlin hasn't been watching much wrestling lately. She's kind of been tuned out of it during the pandemic, but she was watching this, and she was very much invested when Miz got involved. She was on the edge of her seat for the end of that match, and to me, she represents more the casual viewers, and I could see people watching at home being very interested in this. So at least we got something out of Miz coming in and cashing in Money in the Bank. We had a dramatic ending to the match. To me, that's fine. I'm just hopeful next year WWE thinks this out better, doesn't put it on a guy that they're going to give up on halfway through the run as Mr. Money in the Bank, as they did with Otis and, with Asuka. But that was a whole different situation because of Becky Lynch's pregnancy. So hopefully things will change with that, and WWE will think everything out with both the men and the women for next year's Money in the Bank. Any other final thoughts on that? Are you ready to move on to the next match?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's just good, solid match, and did its job in terms of making Drew look strong. That's what they need to do.
Absolutely. All right, now we move on to Sasha Banks versus Carmella for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And Carmella was playing mind games with Sasha right off the bat, going to the outside of the ring. You had Carmella's assistant out there. What's his name? Reggie or something? Did you catch his name?
Yeah, Reginald, I believe.
Okay, so he was out there. He was getting involved. He was helping out Carmella. Carmella got the upper hand for a while. Sasha made a comeback and did a tribute to Eddie Guerrero with the Three Amigos and hit a frog splash for a near fall. They exchanged some near falls. Carmella got the code of silence on, but Sasha got out of it. And Sasha got on the bank statement. You had Reggie pull out Carmella to stop the submission attempt. Sasha ended up hitting a Meteora to Reggie, and Carmella took advantage of that and almost beat Sasha, got her back in the ring, got a near fall, but eventually Sasha got the bank statement on. Once again, Carmella tapped out. I thought this was a hell of a match. I thought this was maybe Carmella's best match of her career. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, my hat goes off to both of these ladies. They laid it all out there tonight. I am actually very impressed with the new direction that they've taken Carmella in, and I thought the SmackDown match they had was really good, and this served up to be quite like the appetizer for what we got here today. And both women, especially towards the end of the match when they were just going hold for a hold, you just felt like it was this war of them jockeying for position to get the women's title. Just each way they kept trying to get into each other's or evade each other's submission maneuvers. And then there were times where you thought, oh my gosh, are they going to go ahead? Are they going to tap? And then she gets out, and then she ends up, getting the what is Sasha's finisher called? The bank statement on. Yeah. And then she ends up making Carmella tap. And I'm glad that Carmella didn't tap out right away, because if she's going to put up that much of a fight at the end, at least have her wait a little bit. I can't stand when you have these competitive matches and then once again at the end the person ends up just tapping out really quick. So that was really awesome, and they're continuing to build Sasha Banks up like a boss. I've said many times on my channel that if WWE is going to go all the way, they have to go all the way with Sasha Banks as a boss. You can't have her come out and say, I'm boss this, boss that, and have her lose the title right away. So I'm glad to finally see Sasha, ranking up some successful title defenses. Never thought I'd finally hear that after 5 years. I'm really hoping that this is leading to Bianca, despite what they did on SmackDown with her losing to Bayley. I hope that in some way, shape, or form, this is leading to Bianca versus Sasha for WrestleMania. But yeah, hats off to both these ladies. Tremendous match.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hopeful that we will get to see Bianca step in and face Sasha for the championship. That seems like a perfect match for WrestleMania. They may do it sooner, but that would be pretty cool to see them go at it for WrestleMania. And certainly seems like that's the direction. Bianca is being built up. Yeah, she did lose to Bayley, but Bayley's also the one with more experience, and Bayley kind of needed the win. I saw some different opinions on social media. Some people were not happy about Bayley winning that match and Bianca taking the loss, but I thought that was a pretty competitive match, as was this. Carmella by no means looked weak in defeat. She put up a great fight, and yeah, hell of a match, which I think does more for her stock long term than anything else. And Corey Graves was really funny. He was so wanting Carmella to win this match. He was jumping up and down. You could see it from the camera angle. He was just popping out of the edge of his seat. He did a great job calling this match, of course.
Hey, he supports his woman, and that's what's up.
Yeah. The This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Going back to earlier, he said, it made The Miz look dumb and ended the Money in the Bank. So he said Miz looked dumb from how the Money in the Bank was cashed in. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but Miz has been portrayed as a mid-card comedy heel for the longest time. I'm like, whatever. If Miz was being pushed as a serious main eventer and did that, I would say, yeah, that was a really bad idea for his character.
More the reason why I still shake my head at them having Keith Lee lose to both The Miz and John Morrison on Monday, this past Monday. Ugh.
Yeah, well, apparently the original plan was for Miz to win in a one-on-one match, and it was changed to a handicap match. Man, that would have really been a disaster.
Look on
as
my
far
face,
as reaction.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, so I'm glad that at least they did the handicap match, and Keith kind of had an out for losing. But I agree that the match probably should not have been booked in the first place. Like, it just seems like a no-win situation for either side. You know, what do Miz and Morrison get from winning a handicap match? Nothing. And Keith doesn't have anything going for him when he's losing matches as a new face on Monday Night Raw. The Simple Man, Noah Foster, sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Noah. And thank you, Noah, for doing the Predictions League throughout 2020. We very much appreciate it. And I'm thinking he's on board for 2021. We'll see if Son can win 3 years in a row. See, I pretty much gave up by the end because, I mean, I was close, but not really close enough. Caitlin, however, she held on and managed to tie you. But yeah, the Rumble, I think everybody's like reinvigorated and we're ready to make a really solid effort at it, and whoever can get that early momentum can perhaps win the whole thing. I think I was ahead at first, but yeah, I kind of lost it.
Hey, you put up a valiant effort. You were like in top 4 all year long. So yeah, I think that was much better than what happened the previous year, right?
Oh yeah, well, I think if anything, usually I'm spot on with the NXT shows, but one of those pay-per-views, I think it was the SummerSlam weekend one, or the one, whichever one that was around SummerSlam in August, that one I kind of bombed on, and I think that brought me down a little bit. So anyways, Noah's comment said, what a nice show, awesome year too. Congrats on this year's winners. Hope everyone had fun and are looking forward to 2021. Take care, folks. Appreciate it, Noah. We appreciate you, and everybody follow Noah, nodq.com/Noah.
I see TJS as well thinks I'm a WWE insider. Hey, majority of these picks I choose because that's what I think the WWE is going to pick. If it was up to me, I wouldn't choose majority of the picks that I do. And I think, what is the WWE going to do? Most times, I don't even want to make these picks.
Yeah, that's the thing. I tell people this all the time. When I try to come up with my predictions, I'm thinking like, what would WWE do? Not what I want to happen. You got to go with what you think's going to happen, not what you want to happen. They're two different things.
Right.
Especially in the world of WWE. All right. Now we'll move on here to the next match, which was the New Day versus the Hurt Business. And I think this is one of the matches you got wrong, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you in a moment here your thought process. So New Day they had a hot start against the New Business. Did I just say the Nude Business? I think I meant the Hurt Business. I have no idea what I was trying to say there. I think
We're live, pal.
we're live, pal. The new, I think I said New Business, but it sounded like Nude Business. The Hurt Business. Thankfully, they were wearing clothes for this. New Day double teamed Cedric, and they almost put him away early in the match. Shelton tagged in. MVP was there doing his job, putting some water over Cedric and keeping him hydrated. Hurt Business eventually got the upper hand, but Kofi got the hot tag, hit the SOS. Cedric was able to kick out of that. Cedric came back and hit a brainbuster. Xavier stopped the pinfall attempt, and then Shelton was on the verge of winning the match when Cedric tagged himself in, and I was thinking Cedric's going to come in and blow it for the team, right, because he's tagging himself in. But no, Cedric tagged in, and he hit the lumbar check and pinned Kofi to have new tag team champions. So, son, your thought process on this match, why did you think we were going to have New Day retain?
This is one of the times where, and I told Noah when we did our predictions, this might come back and bite me, and it looks like it did. I went with the safe bet. Because I'm like, the New Day, they're going to constantly have them win, and so I chose the New Day. But then later on, I'm thinking I shouldn't have chose them because obviously they have been building up Matt Riddle feuding with the Hurt Business for quite some time, and they put Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle together to form the Hardy Bros. So obviously that means they're going to do something. And now that I think about it, there's really nothing much left to do with the New Day. They've already had the longest tag team title reign. They've had probably more tag team titles in WWE history, or getting close to it, and I know they're going to have more title reigns. So yeah, it was just a case of me trying to go with the safe bet, and it did not pay off. But that being said, I am glad that I was wrong on this one, because the Hurt Business to me have definitely been probably one of the better acts that we've seen on Monday Night Raw this year. I am just look at Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley. Where were these three men last year around this time? MVP comes into the mix, and look at where all four of them are now. I even think Cedric Alexander has gotten a lot better to show more of his personality on a mic. He feels like a character now, not just someone that goes out there and can do all these cool moves, but someone who has a personality. And I'm enjoying his Kurt Angle 1999/2000 victories, and MVP was celebrating hard too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We can get something new, but man, the WWE, they have got to stop breaking up these tag teams and then putting together these new makeshift tag teams. Like, do something here with the tag team division. But yeah, glad to see the Hurt Business kicking into 2021 with the tag titles. They've got all the gold almost.
Yeah, they got they got the championships. Bobby Lashley, the United States title holder, came out and they all celebrated, which was my thought process, but that's more of what I wanted to see. That's why I wasn't really sure about this match as far as the prediction went, because I was thinking it would be cool if Lashley had the titles with Shelton and Cedric, and the three of them could all have the championships. Back to like when the Horsemen held all the titles and Evolution had all the titles. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, is WWE actually going to go with it, or what's the deal here? Now, I also was thinking of the titles, how they hot potato all the time, and that's part of why I ended up going with a title change, just because we see those titles flip-flop so much. But I agree with you again. I'm hopeful we'll get to see some new teams added to the mix in the future.
I'll say one more thing, though. They put this match on Monday Night Raw too many times. They should have just built the story up around maybe single matches or something. I know they eventually did, but they did like this tag team match twice on Raw, and they do it again here on the pay-per-view, and it's like it just doesn't feel special anymore.
Right. I agree with that. All right. Now we move on to the women's tag team titles on the line. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against Asuka and a mystery partner who was originally supposed to be Lana. Now, before the match, Billie Kay pitched her name as the partner, and she even had a mask made, but Asuka was like, nope, position has already been filled. Billie Kay was not ready for Asuka. We had Charlotte Flair as the mystery partner, and not really a surprise. I think a lot of us were expecting Charlotte to make her return. She was gone for 6 months, and we were all starting to think, why would Lana be pulled? The one negative, of course, is that we were all hoping maybe we would have gotten a tables match with Nia Jax and Lana to end that feud. We really never got a conclusion to that. So poor Lana, no resolution to that storyline. Charlotte, the priority here, which I'm fine with. Charlotte came out and good match here. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest match or anything, but solid match here. Charlotte looked perfectly fine in the ring. Looked like she had not missed a beat. She did her moonsault off the top to the outside onto both Nia and Shayna. And early in the match, Charlotte wanted to go right after Nia, who was the one who injured her in storyline. And I'm actually impressed that WWE referenced this, because they would tend to just do an angle and then not follow up on it. So I liked that, they brought up how Nia Jackson's storyline was responsible for Charlotte being on the shelf for 6 months. So anyways, Charlotte, after doing the moonsault, she got the figure 8 on Shayna, but Nia Jax pulled Shayna to the outside of the ring. Charlotte, though, recovered and hit the natural selection, pinned Shayna. New tag team champions, Charlotte and Asuka, who last year were arch enemies, and now they're the tag team champions. I was almost thinking we were going to get some kind of screw job where Charlotte would turn against Asuka, or they would have some kind of miscommunication. So I was wrong on this one. Anyway, son, your thoughts on this match?
So definitely was not surprised by Charlotte being the mystery partner, but I was surprised at the outcome because I thought this was just going to be one big plot device to set up for another match between Asuka and Charlotte, which it very well is probably still going to be. So in terms of the match, pretty good stuff. I think it's just sad that Shayna Baszler and Asuka not having a program where they could have been built up as the two killers of NXT's women's division going at it. But as far as where this match is going to lead us to, like all champions, anytime you have the world champion teaming with the tag team or becoming tag team champions with their partner, it's never going to last. There's no way this is going to go all the way to WrestleMania. So I expect them to lose the titles sometime in January. I really wanted to see Charlotte come back as something different, having seen Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Roman Reigns, just to name a few, sort of reinvent themselves over the past year. I would love to see Charlotte take on some sort of new persona outside of the queen gimmick that she's doing, but I guess they're going to want to maybe try to keep her that forever, as tribute to her father. But overall, I think so far what we're going here is another Charlotte and Asuka match, and it's like, they've done it so many times. The only thing new that could really be done is having Asuka finally beat Charlotte 100% clean. This just showcases how thin the Raw women's division has become from them not building up the other women. So it looks like we're going to get another WrestleMania match between Charlotte and Asuka. And I actually did like the Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler feud for a while it lasted. And you brought up a good point from a storyline standpoint. Nia Jax was the one that took out Charlotte, so it would make sense that Charlotte wants to get back here, get back at her. Maybe we'll get a Nia versus Shayna feud. That's where they were going before they put them together as a makeshift tag team. But overall, surprising ending. But we'll see where it goes here. Like I said, pretty sure it's going to be Asuka and Charlotte.
Yeah, and Asuka once again, 2 championships. That seems to be a recurring theme with the tag team titles. And yeah, it would be really nice if we had some new tag teams. And I don't expect this run to last very long. We'll see what happens. We'll see who dethrones them. It could end up going right back to Shayna and Nia for all we know. This guy experience. So go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, one more thing. Greg Cherry will probably know this too, but I think it's history making because I heard my friend was talking about how it was, this is the first time, I guess, Charlotte Flair, she's a Grand Slam champion now, so Charlotte making more history.
Absolutely. This guy experience sent in a $2 super chat, says, I'll rather Santina Marella be Asuka's teammate. Wow, that's quite savage there. I mean, not everybody likes Charlotte, but I think she's a great performer. I just think she was getting a little bit overexposed before she left. And I know a lot of people are upset about Rhea Ripley losing at WrestleMania, and then Charlotte was on all the shows for a period of time, and she was definitely getting overexposed. But glad to see her back, and I feel she definitely deserves to be in the mix for the championship, despite people not being completely sold on her for whatever reason.
Agree.
All right, so now we move on to the Universal Championship TLC match. Interestingly enough, not the main event. I was surprised by this. I was a little shocked that the Tribal Chief was not closing the show. So Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Kevin Owens. Owens went right after Reigns, attacked him before Reigns' music stopped playing. Reigns was still in the ring. They were having the belt hoisted above the ring. Owens just jumped him. Jey Uso pretty much immediately ran down and was interfering throughout the match. Kevin Owens would keep fighting him off. Owens tried to break Jey's ankle with the chair, and the referees took him to the back, but then Jey returned later. And Owens just kept trying to put Jey away, but Jey was, like a bug in the humid summer. You cannot get rid of it. It just keeps coming. And Reigns took advantage. He used the steel steps on Owens. He used a steel chair. He gave Owens a back body drop onto 2 chairs that were set up in the ring. And Owens kept fighting. He managed to stun Reigns, and he gave Jey a pop-up powerbomb through the announce table. However, that did not stop Jey. Jey kept coming back, and Reigns took advantage again, and he powerbombed Owens onto a ladder. Michael Cole called this as a spine buster through a table. Total botch there by Michael Cole. I'm sure it will be on the next Botchamania. And I think he called it a table a second time. He called the ladder a table twice.
Yep, on the replay. Yep.
Poor Michael Cole. I mean, I would be confused too. Like, I don't blame him for screwing up, because with all these objects out there, you're bound to confuse them at some point. It was just funny. Reigns put Owens through a table on the outside of the ring and actually did a second occurrence of this where he did a Samoan drop to Owens through a second table on the outside. Reigns tried to climb the ladder and finish him off, although Jey was still on the outside. Owens managed to get back in this somehow, and he grabbed Reigns' foot. Reigns was just visibly frustrated at this point. He started trash talking. He slapped Owens. Owens responded by slapping him back, and Reigns speared Owens through another table that was set up in the corner. So Owens took like 3 table bumps at this point. We had Owens somehow managing to stay in it once again, because Reigns tried to spear Owens on the outside. Owens moved, and Reigns speared himself through the barricade, and Owens put Reigns through a table with a pop-up powerbomb, and Jey again got involved. Owens hit a stunner on Jey, went to climb the ladder again, but this time Reigns hit a low blow, the low blow that he's been using in various matches over the past several months. And Reigns on the top of the ladder put the guillotine on Owens. Owens passed out, fell to the mat. Reigns grabbed the championship to win the title. So great match here. Owens looked very strong in defeat despite everything. Let me get to a couple of these super chats, and then I'll get your thoughts, son. David Estevez says with a $2 super chat, thank you, David. He says, Owens deserves a title run after that performance. I agree. Owens deserves a lot of credit for that, for sure. And TJS with a $5 super chat, thank you, TJS. He says, this was a star-making performance for KO tonight, an even bigger star than he was. Storytelling and commentary was great. Serious Mankind vibes. And I agree with that comment about Mankind for sure. So, son, your thoughts on this match?
You know, what we have seen here tonight is that Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, whether it's babyface Owens and heel Reigns or babyface Reigns and heel Owens, these two gentlemen can go out and have a serious, great pay-per-view match. They killed it at the Rumble in 2017. They killed it tonight at TLC 2020. Like I've been saying, Roman Reigns has been, I think, the greatest character, well, the best character we got going right now in professional wrestling, and I thoroughly enjoyed this whole storyline. Kevin Owens, I thought, did tremendous as a defiant babyface, and Roman Reigns is definitely, I guess we're thinking of Randy because we'll get to him next, but yeah, Roman has been doing great as the new tribal chief gimmick. There was a lot of hard-hitting parts in this match, like the way when Roman did the spear to Kevin Owens through the table, just the way the table cracked in half and it fell over the head of KO. When Randy, or I don't know why I'm thinking of Randy Orton. I really want to get to that ending match. I'm botching like Michael Cole here, which despite Michael Cole's two botches, I will say, like TJS said, his commentary was very much on point in this match. And when Roman exploded through the barricade, it looked nasty. Like it looked like, yeah, Roman may have had a really bad shoulder. And I thought Jey Uso in the match was just awesome. And there were so many times where KO was at the top of that ladder and he almost had the time, like, oh, he's gonna grab it. And I love little tiny details where Roman gets there and he's like, I'm not going to make it in time, so boom, let me punch him in the crotch and then now bring him down and throw him off there. So I just thought the match was really well worked, good stuff, great storytelling. I felt every single impact, and yeah, they did a lot of simple moves, but this is the importance of character development.
Right.
When you build strong characters up with a compelling storyline, these matches feel great. They feel amazing to watch as a wrestling fan, and we need more of this definitely today in professional wrestling. So hats off to both guys. It was the match I was looking forward to the most, and like I said, it just told a tremendous great story, and I'm looking forward to see what's next for the Tribal Chief.
Yeah, well, I was kind of hoping we would have seen Jimmy on this show, and if I had to criticize anything about this match, I would say like maybe it was just being overdone with Jay interfering, and we all knew Reigns was going to retain, but then Jay's just constantly interfering. I would have liked to have seen maybe Jimmy come out at the end and be the final difference maker, just when you thought, okay, there's no way Jay's coming back. He's totally out of the equation. Wins might actually win this. Jimmy shows up, and that's the difference maker.
Yeah, I thought Jimmy was going to be they were going to make it look like Kevin Owens won, and then I thought Jimmy was going to come out and align himself with his cousins and everything, but I guess he's got probably maybe about 1 month left to go before he's fully recovered.
Right. Andrew Alexander with a $2 Canadian super chat, thank you for that, says, where does KO go from here is the real question. I think he'll continue to feud with Jey Uso. I could see them having a singles match, and maybe when Jimmy returns, KO might need some backup. And that's the only other issue I would have with this match too, was does KO not have any friends backstage? Nobody came out to stand up to the tribal chief and defend Owens. Like, where was Daniel Bryan or any of these guys? Like, nobody came out to help him. So I kind of felt bad for Kevin Owens, although I guess
maybe Jey Uso taught them that respect Roman was talking about.
Good point there. Or maybe, yeah, they just fear Reigns so much, but it kind of makes the baby faces look weak when nobody's coming out there. Now, you could argue, too, that KO, he's been that guy that screws over everybody, and thus he really doesn't have any friends in WWE. So you could work that into the storyline. All right, let's see here. Couple other comments. There was another super chat here from Andrew. He sent in a $2 super chat and says, I honestly can't stand the main commentator on Monday Night Raw. Which one is he? Tom Phillips? Is it Phillips that's doing Raw?
Might be.
You don't even know at this point.
Yeah, Samoa Joe, Brian Saxon, Tom Phillips.
I know
Phillips. I enjoy Samoa Joe's commentary a lot. He gets into this stuff.
Yeah, Joe's been doing great. And, even though, we made fun of Michael Cole, I think he's done well. I think he did well on this show overall, and Corey Graves did well. They were good. I didn't really have any issues with them. They just had that funny mistake at one point. Yeah, it was Tom Phillips on commentary tonight. I get him and the guy that's on NXT confused all the time. So sorry about that. They sound pretty similar to me. But yeah. Josh Mansfield says, I miss Jerry Lawler on commentary. As did I, like 20 years ago. If we could have Jerry Lawler from 1995, bring it on. But unfortunately, we cannot do that. All right. So let's get to the main event, which going in I was not expecting to be the main event. The Fiend versus Randy Orton in a Firefly Inferno match. And it was announced the only way to win, like traditional Inferno match, to set your opponent on fire. Now, when they announced this Inferno match, I thought they were going to do it cinematic style, right? I thought they were going to do it at some location, and it was going to be all the Fiend bells and whistles and wacky camera shots and whatnot. But nope, it was actually in the ring. They did it in the ring, traditional style match, although pre-taped, not live, so they could do all of the special effects that they did in the match. And for one thing, they had the flames surrounding the barricade area instead of around the ring, which gave the guys, it made the match better because the guys were able to work on the outside of the ring and move around. Like one of the bad things about the Inferno match is because of the flames surrounding the ring, they're limited. They're limited as to what they can do unless they do something where they manage to do a dive over the top. But for the most part, they're stuck in the ring. So this was nice that they were able to move around more. And real quick here, David Estevez with a $2 super chat says, when is Joe coming back? Joe versus Drew McIntyre is a must. Good question there. Your guess is as good as mine. You know, I think WWE's being very careful with Joe, and I'm hopeful one day he will be able to return, but the concussions, it's a serious issue, and WWE's not going to clear him unless they're sure he's good to go and not risk the chances of him suffering another concussion. So back to the match here. Orton took the first shot. Fiend was just laughing at him, not taking Orton seriously at all. Fiend grabbed not a championship belt, just a regular weightlifting belt, and set it on fire. He tried to hit Orton with the belt, but he missed. And then he grabbed a pickaxe, yes, an actual pickaxe, and tried to hit Randy Orton. He tried to murder Randy Orton on live TV, on pay-per-view, with a pickaxe. But he missed. Randy Orton survived, sure death. And then the Fiend had this rocking chair brought to ringside, and he poured gasoline on it. He put Randy Orton on the rocking chair. He tried to set Orton on fire, who was sitting in the rocking chair, but Orton managed to escape that as well. And they did a nice camera edit here. Clearly, this was a taped spot, so they would not actually really endanger Randy Orton in real life. He moved out of the way. The rocking chair was engulfed in flames, but Orton once again avoided death. The match continued. They had other weapons that they were setting on fire and trying to use on each other. And then they tried to push each other into the flames. They were like moving back and forth, but eventually Orton got the Fiend into the flames. The Fiend's jacket was set on fire. However, the Fiend, like Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th movies, even when he's set on fire, he keeps coming. He went back into the ring. And by the way, Randy Orton was fully dressed for this match. He was wearing a sweater, a hoodie, and pants. So he was prepared for the possibility that he could be set on fire. Fiend ran back into the ring, and Randy hit an RKO. Randy Orton, I guess, was the victor here, even though there was no bell going off. It wasn't officially announced, but the stipulation, first person set on fire, is the loser. And Randy Orton did set Fiend on fire, hit the RKO. Fiend was knocked out, and Randy Orton went to the outside, grabbed a can of gasoline, and he came back in the ring, poured the gasoline on the Fiend, and then he grabbed the match. He teased what he was going to do. The announcers were like begging him, please don't do it. But the Viper is the Viper. He dropped the match, and at this point there was a cut to what was clearly a dummy, but it looked cool. Randy Orton dropped the match, and the Fiend was completely engulfed in flames, just burning to a crisp. And Randy Orton took his leave, and the flames, were shooting up as they were doing throughout the match. Just like the other Inferno matches, every time that somebody takes a bump or whatever, the flames shoot up for the dramatic effect. I was very entertained by this. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but they were doing stuff like this in the Attitude Era all the time, like this over-the-top stuff. And because of the situation with the pandemic, they were actually able to do something different with this, which I really liked. And they were able to do this thing with somebody fully being engulfed, which they couldn't do before, with special effects and using the dummy and editing and all that. So I liked it because it was something different. And it was a very entertaining way to end the show, even though we saw a murder on pay-per-view. But what I found funny was that the announcers were so upset about this, even though the Fiend tried to use a pickaxe on Orton. So whatever. Anyways, your thoughts on this, son?
Yeah, this is something else. Usually when the match I'm looking forward to the most is not the main event, I'm like, they better have something good planned. And it was. I might have to say this could have very well been the greatest Inferno match in WWE history because, as you were stating, so many times they have to, the wrestlers have to kind of tippy toe around the ring, do cool moves and spots, but make sure they don't do it so much to where they get thrown into the fire prematurely. So having look at this, I'm like, this is cool. I thought visually it looked great, seeing the flames like burn all throughout the Thunderdome. Like I think Michael Cole had said something like that, and you thought they were going to be figurative speaking, but they were literal. And I'm like, this is cool. And the spots were cool, like putting the fire, about to try to race up to Randy Orton. He had to get off the chair, what they did with the whole axe and everything. And then I like the belt being put on fire. Like it was cool. It made good psychological, psychology in the match. We saw some really unique psychology that you would not see normally in an Inferno match. So I thought it was pretty entertaining and it worked well. It worked so well that I actually forgot the Fiend even lost this match, and I kind of don't mind that he lost the match just because of how it was executed. Ironically, I don't think this hurts the Fiend really much. I was waiting for the Fiend to pop up, and I wasn't sure how they did this, so I'm guessing if this was indeed obviously taped, they must have been using pre-footage of that they gathered from the Thunderdome crowd on the screen. So I'll be looking forward to see on social media who says, "Hey, I wasn't really watching the show at this time," or something like that. But yeah, the way this was executed and how they put the dummy in there and the way everything was edited together was really smooth. And then him setting the Fiend on fire was awesome. And then they just shut off the pay-per-view off. But what they should have done, and you would have had to use some cool CGI for this or something like that. Would have been cool to have the Fiend set up, and I did think it was cool when his whole back was on fire and his leg was on fire, and he still ran in there and stuff like that. And I like how they threw us off because when Randy Orton came out with his clothes, I was doing the whole King of the Hill joke. I was like, yeah, that's a lot of clothing Orton's got on for this match. It's not like he's going to be burned. Cue Hank Hill when he said, "That's a clean burning hell, I'll tell you what." I'm thinking that's what's gonna happen, but the Fiend comes out with his clothes or his jacket still on. I'm like, okay, something's up. They've got it gimmicked up back there for some reason. But yeah, it was entertaining. Definitely, like I said, it very well may be the greatest Inferno match we've seen in WWE history, and I think they'll probably have one last match where the Fiend finally beats him in some sort of regular match, pin him 1, 2, 3. I mean, this was definitely like it should have been the peak, but the Fiend, I think, needs to at least get some sort of win, and hopefully gets a win over Goldberg, just so he can avenge his previous loss. But yeah, I was entertained by the ending. Did not expect this, and a nice main event for WWE to end off in 2020.
Absolutely. And TJS sent in a $3 super chat. A lot of people wondering what's next for the Fiend, and he said, "I thought Fiend was being rebuilt, then he lost. Rest in peace." Well, he might be repackaged. He might take a couple months off. Keep in mind, The Undertaker lost to Shawn Michaels twice due to Kane, and Kane actually set the casket on fire. So, kind of the same thing happened to The Undertaker, except because it's in front of a live crowd, they couldn't really do what we got to see on this show. It was left to our imagination. Here, they actually just went full-blown setting somebody on fire. And what's funny is, back in the day, people would complain about the Inferno matches and say, "Oh, this is kind of lame. An arm getting set on fire or a foot being set on fire for 5 seconds." Here, we actually got full-blown person being set on fire. and people are still unhappy about it. But yeah, I think the Fiend can come back from this. They can change up his character a little bit or do something. He'll return. And Andrew Alexander with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Andrew. Says this match was predictable but good. Fiend was protected well. He'll rise from the ashes like all horror movie villains. Exactly. Look at Michael Myers in Halloween 2 in the hospital, completely set on fire, and he recovered from that. Although if you only pay attention to the Jamie Lee Curtis sequels, then that movie's completely forgotten about, that whole storyline with him returning and Jamie and all that. But anyways, we're not talking about Halloween here or Friday the 13th. But yeah, they could do something like that with him where he just keeps coming back like the typical slasher movie character. And Power Packers 90 with a $2 super chat says, but I thought only AEW was blood and guts. Well, technically we had no blood and guts. We just had a guy being set on fire. But yeah, it's kind of funny how WWE 1 minute they're putting down AEW for being too violent, and then they set a guy on fire during a pay-per-view. But again, it's so over the top that you kind of know, obviously, that was a dummy and not a real person being set on fire. And Adrian with a €5 super chat. Thank you, Adrian. He says, poor Bray was buried again. He wasn't buried. He was set on fire. And he says, another repackage. Right. This time, IRS Jr., third time lucky. Oh, man. I think he's going to be okay from this. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, who knows? After losing to Goldberg, this wasn't that bad of a deal. Being set on fire. Losing to Goldberg in a 3-minute match I thought was far worse for The Fiend. And DJW. Go ahead.
Oh, is it? Yeah, Taker survived being buried alive and came back even stronger with an incredible run in the Attitude Era and beyond. So I like to think The Fiend will be better, but I do think he needs to avenge that loss against Goldberg.
I agree. And remember, 2003 when Kane had The Undertaker buried and you thought, okay, Undertaker's gone, and then he came back. So, yeah, Fiend can definitely come back from this. DJW said The Fiend is officially buried. So much potential. So, yeah, a lot of people aren't fans of this, but I mean, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, it was pretty spectacular what we saw, and we've seen supernatural things happen to other people before, and they've come back.
Maybe he would have been buried if Randy Orton took the time to put the chair out and sit on the table and just take out a marshmallow and a stick and start cooking over barbecue Bray. But this is pro wrestling. This is sports entertainment. A lot of us as kids grew up on this wacky stuff in wrestling. So it's cool to see that every now and then. It definitely makes you stand out from the norm and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, if you want acrobatics, you can watch New Japan Pro Wrestling or AEW, but if you want the supernatural soap opera stuff, WWE still does it, and hell, Impact did it too with Matt Hardy, and they did that Hardy cinematic match. So it's just all in good fun.
And I maintain that the cameramen in WWE have got to be the most evil people throughout the entire history of WWE. Every single time we have one of these fire spots, they always just sit there and look. Did you see the cameramen behind them just getting that good angle in on Bray Wyatt as he's burning? Meanwhile, poor Joe and the other commentators are screaming their heart out, help him! Somebody help him!
By the way, a lot of people liked your Hank Hill impersonation.
Oh, well, I appreciate that very much. King of the Hill is one of my greatest shows that I love ever, man. I tell you what, Dango Man, that Dango show, you be coming around here, man. Just so much fun. That Dango Man, that Dango show.
And Adrian sent in a €5 super chat, says, great year for Bray, buried at the start of the year by Goldberg, or Oldberg as he put it, buried at the end of the year by Randy Orton. So there you go. It came full circle.
Full circle.
And we have a $2 super chat from Power Packers 90. Says, Bray tweeted, thank you, WWE Universe. Huh, that's interesting. I wonder if he's just trolling people, though. You never know if that's some kind of send-off, or maybe he is taking a break. He does have a family. Maybe he just wants to take a couple months off and come back. Maybe once the pandemic is over as a big surprise return. Let's see here. Any other comments? Yeah, Curtis Butler says he's not buried, fanboys. Stop crying and change your diapers. I like it. Yeah, a couple people in here are coming back and saying, this isn't as bad as people are making it out to be. I didn't have a big issue with it. Now, if the Fiend had not lost to Goldberg, maybe I would have been a little bit more upset. But at this point, I'm like, Fiend's got to lose sometimes. He can't win every single match. And again, he can come back from this. If he can come back from all the other things, he'll come back from this. So that'll wrap it up for our thoughts on TLC. Let's go ahead and do a letter grade. I really enjoyed the show. I thought it was a great pay-per-view to end the year. And I have, other than a few nitpicks, I was very entertained by it. So I'm going with a solid A for TLC. Too bad it's too late for the year-end awards, but this should definitely be in contention for next year. I thought it was a hell of a show. I thought it was on fire, so to speak. And Son, your letter grade for the show.
Yeah, man, the match certainly burnt the house down with this one. All right, enough of these puns. But yeah, I agree with you. A solid A. And you know what? This kind of it sort of embodies what WWE has done this year in 2020. A lot of the shows, a lot of just everything with the pandemic has really exposed a lot of issues that we've all seen throughout WWE over the years. And that's come to fruition in this year. But they also took some chances to make certain things finally stand out, particularly with what they've done with Roman and taking advantage of what they could, as we saw in this Inferno match. And so I'm hoping that hopefully WWE can be a lot more good than bad going into 2021. But yeah, definitely a great way to end the year for WWE.
Yeah, there was no Alexa Bliss on this show, by the way. Mohammed, I missed your comment. I'm not sure if he sent a super chat. If I missed it, I apologize. If it was a super chat, just send me the regular comment and I'll read it off. Looking at the letter grades here, this guy Experience wasn't impressed. He gave it a C-, but he says the last match saved it, interestingly enough. But I am seeing a lot of A's from the show, or for the show, from David, Israel. Mike B says definitely an A. Zach gives the pay-per-view an A. And yeah, overall, lots of solid letter grades for the show. And Curtis Butler says this show was a passing of the torch. And Adrian says, from what I see, it was a B show. All right, well, watch the whole thing and then get back to us. So anyways, guys, I recommend checking out the pay-per-view. I think it's definitely worth a watch from start to finish. And yeah, the main event might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if you were a fan of the Attitude Era and the wild stunts that they did, you'll enjoy it. So that's it for us. Son, you want to go ahead and give us your plugs?
Yeah, check over to my YouTube channel, Son Goshuku, SONGOSHKU, which I see Aaron actually has spelled out there, and that's where you can find all my other social media, Twitter, Instagram. So yeah, check out my work. I'm working on a short film called Battle Deception that combines anime with live action. Been working on that for 8 years, and I got a whole bunch of things up with the trailer, behind the scenes. If you like Dragon Ball discussions, come over and check out my Ranking the Dragon Ball 4 Main Couples podcast. Currently, I am competing in the Now Voice This contest, which is a contest for voice actors, currently in the semifinals. So check out my entries over there. So yeah, if you want some cool voice acting and acting videos overall, and Dragon Ball discussions and WWE reviews, of course, check it out all on my YouTube. I'll have the links in the description or pinned comment, or yeah, description and comment below. I'm used to saying that, but it'll be in the comment below. And Aaron, thank you so much. Had a blast talking with you on the show today. It was definitely a fun event, and always keep supporting No DQ. Aaron, we appreciate everything you do for No DQ and wrestling for all of us, and everybody at Team No DQ. Hope you enjoy the rest of the year for 2020. Didn't start off too well with us, but hey, let's try and make 2021 a better one for everybody, and stay positive.
Absolutely. Hopefully 2021 will keep the momentum going that this pay-per-view had, and Royal Rumble is January 31st, I believe. They announced that during the show. They got a good 6 weeks to build that up. And hopefully The Fiend doesn't return on Raw tomorrow night. I think he should at least sell it. The Undertaker did sell it for several weeks when the casket was set on fire. So, yeah, give The Fiend a little bit of a break, and hopefully Alexa's back. I would hate to see, Alexa not part of the act anymore, because she's been such a great addition to it.
Yeah.
Again, make sure you guys follow Noah Foster, nodq.com/Noah, and Foster1916 is his Twitter handle. And if you guys want to be part of the Predictions League, he does one for the entire No DQ galaxy. You know, Sun is part of the team No DQ, which is all the people that appear on the videos. But yeah, you could still participate and be part of that. Noah keeps track of all the pay-per-views and who's got the most points and whatnot. He has a full chart for it. So follow him and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest news coming off of the TLC pay-per-view. Have a great night, everybody. And make sure you guys subscribe to Sun's channel. Stay safe, everybody. Be positive and enjoy your holiday week. Hopefully you can at least talk to your loved ones and talk to your friends, whether it's through Zoom, at least you have them to talk to, and just make the most of the situation. Hopefully everybody can have a happy holiday week coming up here. And that's all I got. So take care, everybody, and we will see you all next time.